Afternoon, everybody. Steve Schmidt of The Warning here with my friend Dean Blundell. Dean, how you doing?
Dude, I am so good. In a sea full of crazies, in a world full of insanity, I'm holding up.
You're
Thanks to
holding
people
up,
like you.
holding up, holding up, and holding on.
Yeah.
Um, Lot to talk about. Lot to talk about. So there's a MAGA civil war that has broken out. Um, and inside their Star Wars bar, inside their creature cantina, a great vituperation has broken out between Candace Owens,
Yeah.
who is a former partner of Ben Shapiro's, but who has become a vicious anti-Semite. I think that's fair.
Yeah.
There's no right. There's no hyperbole or exaggeration. I
No,
don't
no.
I want to be accused of being deranged.
Yeah.
A vicious anti-Semite. Um, and somehow all of this has gotten wrapped up with the murder of Charlie Kirk.
Mhm.
And she is now producing a movie about Erica Kirk. We watched the trailer together, and the movie is called Bride of Kirk. It's about Erica Kirk, and there's a great unsettlement across MAGA. Meghan McCain has condemned this is true evil. Um, this movie, and so
Demonic.
Bride of Kirk,
Demonic, I think.
demonic. There's a demonic movie, Bride of Kirk, made by Candace Owens, and so there's
Yeah.
a lot of MAGA is fixated on this morning. And
Mm.
but you just saw the trailer, and how did it touch you at any type of level that we should know about?
Yeah, it did. It spoke to me, if you will. I I didn't know it existed, but if anybody's been paying attention to the I don't know, you call it a fracture in MAGA? Do you call it a fracture? I mean, they're eating each other alive, and leopards do eat faces, that cliche, it's so true, and when Charlie Kirk lost his life, God rest his soul, I guess. When Charlie Kirk lost his life, the great MAGA fracture began, and what they wanted to do was make it look like this is gonna bring MAGA together, and, it really did for a little bit, right? Kinda brought us all together. No one wants to see that kinda stuff. What has happened since then, watching Erica Kirk basically go on a pyro show WWE merch tour
It's very
in the
peculiar.
name. Yeah, it's the sequin pantsuits, the jumping out of the ground into the pyrotech work and throwing out MAGA hats to people like she's,
Peculiar.
white nationalist Oprah, right? Like, you get a Charlie Kirk hat. You get a Charlie Kirk hat. On the other side of that, and listen, you have to be a moron not to look at what she's doing and go, that's just a different way of grieving. I have never seen anybody grieve like that. Like getting,
Right. I
like
mean,
I've grieved. I've grieved. But I've never grieved like that, Steve, and I think you can probably attest to the fact that you probably have never grieved like that by going on a speaking tour, shaking hands, signing autographs, taking over a company, and then 2 weeks after that, telling everybody in a private meeting it was a great fucking day because you just sold $200,000 worth of Charlie Kirk merch,
you
right?
might say
This
that he even looks happy.
And it was interesting because I talked to Malcolm about this when we were in Greenland, right, for the Save America movement trip, where we went over to sit in solidarity, stand, walk in solidarity with our allies, and her name came up, and Malcolm peaked. He's like, Erica fucking Kirk. And then he went on to explain how there are these movements because Malcolm's a widow, as you know. There are these movements and these chat rooms and these widow support groups online. And one of the segments of the widow support group online is the happy widow, people that are happy when their spouse leaves this earthly fold. And he went point by point, virtue by virtue, online showing me Erica Kirk's entire grieving process over the course of 2.5 hours. That is a very happy widow, Steve. That is a very happy widow who gets to be her own boss babe. But where does this kind of come into account with Candace Owens? The war that is going on between Candace Owens, who is not to be taken seriously. I mean, yes, she's turned into a virulent anti Semite who blames everything from overexposure to the sun to the fact that she got raw milk instead of homogenized milk that morning on Jewish people. She's also the same person that is currently being sued for saying that Macron's wife has a penis, which has been, I mean, crazy eats crazy, and it's going on right now. But this documentary trailer that you just showed me, "The Bride of Kirk,"
Yeah, Bride of Kirk.
is one that I would pay to watch.
Yes.
I'm happy to give Candace Candace my $30, my $60, because I think she happens to nail this one, if you will.
A full-fledged, full-throated endorsement of Bride of Kirk from Dean Blundell. I would just say I've never had a desire to hang out with any of these people, but in this instance, I would like to have been in the room when the titles were being tossed around, right? Charlie's Bride, Bride of Charlie, Bride of Kirk, right? Just kinda hits the nail on the head. Um, hits the
What do you
nail on
Can I
the head.
ask you a question? I wanna know what you
Yes.
make of not just this fracture. Is this just, 2 different competing business interests trying to get on top of each person's I'm enjoying it like everybody else, but what is this? Like, what is this? You call it a fracture, but what is
No.
happening between
Well,
these 2 groups?
I look at it, I think like anybody, when you look at something like this, right, you put it through like a prism of like, what can you reference it against, right? So every time I see her, it makes me think of Children of the Corn, like flat out. Um, and she's got that whole Malachi thing going on that I don't like at all. The second thing is that she reminds me, there's a remember Chucky? Right? Like the doll and the murdering doll, right? Like, she's got a
Yeah.
little Chucky going on, a little bit of Chucky meets Children of the Corn, right? Type deal. It's like, I don't really believe in reincarnation, but I was like, watching this, I'm like, fuck, Tammy Faye is back, right? It's crazy, right? She's back and she's tossing merch. And it's just very peculiar. And I know
Yeah,
that in an autocratic movement, there's always going to be purges, right? That everybody is
yeah,
standing in a line, competing to get that space on Predator Patio at Mar-a-Lago, right? That's the highest attainment. That's their nirvana. To be close to Trump, to the best friend of Epstein, the pedophile protector, this felon, this untreated psychiatric patient. That's the highest thing, right? To be celebrated in that. And they all have a knife in one hand for the back in front of them. They all got eyes in the back of their head for the knife behind them. And they all are principleless. They're all hypocrites. They're all vicious. And this whole thing has been an abomination, right from the fascist rally with 200,000 people, just the fraudulence of it. But it's incredible to watch them tear each other apart. I mean, the Tucker Carlson interview with Mike Huckabee, I mean, everyone should watch it because it shows at some level, the deficiency of the media and how easy it is to expose a crackpot like Huckabee. At the same time, you got to recognize the person who's doing the exposing is a demagogic charlatan who is the beginning of the answer to the question that what comes after Trump, right? And it could be something much worse. Could be a Tucker Carlson, as bad as as evil as Trump is. You watch that Tucker Carlson interview with Mike Huckabee, you see very clearly how he's carving out the lines of the space that he intends to run in 2028 against Marco Rubio and against J.D. Vance. And it's interesting to see the first clearance of that road coming together. Diana, I mark my words, she's going to be the Republican nominee.
you think so? You think Tucker
Yeah,
Carlson's gonna be? Yeah,
absolutely. And he's
yeah.
and his anti-Semitism, right, and his line, that he takes on Huckabee. He's a very, very talented demagogue, A, but B, he's running against the Epstein files and he's running against the war in Iran. So he has a tension against MAGA where he understands, so I think he's smarter than those other guys. He can kick the shit out of them and all their bad ideas and still say he loves Trump and keep Trump at a minimum neutral in it. Trump will never turn against Tucker Carlson so long as Tucker doesn't turn against Trump. And Tucker Carlson's not going to turn against Trump. He's going to hijack MAGA from Trump, and he's going to hijack it from him on the virulence of his hate. Uh, he's a
Mhm.
he's a much smoother nationalist and racial supremacist, a true fascist, filled with real grievance and resentment. So much smarter on his feet as a debater, and he's going to all of his religious nonsense and Hectorism, that he's wrestling with the demons and all of that. You see it playing out, and he's going to run against the Epstein stuff. He's going to run against the interventionism that we've seen of Trump, and he's going to run a true nationalist, true fascistic campaign, really running against black people, brown people, anybody who is not, in his version, a true American, which is scary stuff to say the least.
Well, and you're seeing the nuancing of MAGA, right? To your point, everybody's starting to carve out their different lanes. Maybe you're MAGA, but you hate Israel. Maybe you're MAGA and you love Israel. Maybe you're MAGA and you hate Russia. Maybe you're MAGA and you love Russia. But to your point, seeing everybody sort of streamline the nuance of whatever they're going to become in the new iteration post Donald Trump isn't just fascinating. You're watching people like literally fight for MAGA turf at this point, right? You're
Mhm.
watching people kind of pay attention to the signposts, the polls, watching how people feel about certain issues, which is, it's hilarious to me because the opportunism in MAGA, is spoken to in all of the conversations that we've had about MAGA, even in just the first 10, 12 minutes of this conversation, is that they're all just opportunists. Like Candace Owens isn't putting out Bride of Kirk because she thinks she's going to affect great change, right? That's opportunism. That is a hot subject. People want to know why a grieving widow goes on a WWE style pyro merch tour as soon as her husband dies. But behind that, the conspiracy theories, right? Which is what keeps all of MAGA alive. And depending on the conspiratorial person that you are, and depending on your leaning, your bias, what religion you say that you subject yourself to, there are 10 different denominations of MAGA now if you look at it like it's a church, right? There is.
Yep.
There are.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
the one that makes me laugh the hardest, which is never it's the MAGA influencer, it's the MAGA guy or the MAGA girl who somehow can split the difference between, Israel and Russia, or split the difference between Gaza and Iran, but they're all seemingly okay with pedophilia and rape.
Yep.
Like that's the thing that I can't, and I'm never going to wrap my head around it. Never ever going to wrap my head around that. And I watched it happen specifically over the past few days with the stemming from all things, a gold medal hockey game with the Team USA and Canada. Canada loses 2-1 in overtime, and MAGA went to work. I cannot tell you how many times I was told to go kill myself because our hockey team went over the past like 72 to hours or so. Your team sucks. Go kill yourself. I'm like, I'm never gonna do that, you guys. Like, I'm just
Right.
not over a hockey game.
Right.
But it was the glee that MAGA Nation took in the celebration and the merit of a group of young, talented hockey players that showed up to shake hands, and to have a pedophile and a rapist, a violent sexual predator, a self dealing 34-time fucking felon shake their hand and not just validate it, but also them validating him and everything he stands for. And I want your opinion on that because I know we've got lots of very interested maggots. I don't think those hockey players, A, are smart enough to understand what that room
Okay.
meant and what happens. But yeah,
Yeah.
go ahead, please.
So let's go. So let's talk about the hockey team. Um, where to start? Um, so the very first thing is let's set some baselines. Like you and I have talked about this. Like to me, everybody our age, I'm gonna throw out two things that I believe to be true in that perpetual debate about greatest ever or greatest that we've seen in our lifetimes is hands down to me the greatest athlete that I have seen play sports in our lifetime. We're about the same age is Bo Jackson. Period.
Mhm.
There's one just like he stands apart. I think
Without question.
I think a I think a person that is hands down in my lifetime the toughest athlete that I've ever seen is Lindsey Vonn. There's no there's no comparison to her, right? Like that is a true Olympian,
Mhm.
right? That is like a true competitor. A at a next level that's like beyond the beyond, right? Like a true American sports icon.
Mhm. Agreed.
And you look at a team, and all teams have character. And one of the things that we talked a lot about over a lot of Blue Jays games this last year is that was a team of great character.
Mhm.
There were an extraordinary number, and there still is part of the reasons I like the Blue Jays so much. You had a Dodger player who had a child that was in a children's hospital with a serious condition. I don't a tragedy had happened, and the Blue Jays players wore the uniform of their opposing player on their hats, on their uniforms, and you had a lot of Toronto fans that were donating money to the Los Angeles Children's Hospital. If I remember the story, right? That's what sportsmanship
Correct.
is about.
He's a
So
starting pitcher, and he couldn't pitch in the World Series because his daughter was deathly ill. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, and that's what sportsmanship is about. So this team, I can't at 55 years of age, the way that they presented themselves, I cannot think of another championship team that conveyed onto the world more stupidity than them. That if you were to rank that this is the lowest to highest IQ team of all time, right? This is the ultimate to me low IQ douche bro team that I've ever seen. They were professional assholes in the aftermath of this celebration, and the whole country was celebrating their achievement. And in fact, all of the Canadian hockey fans I know were in awe of the game, and the game was over, and it's a great rivalry. And then the game is hijacked by a corrupt law enforcement official who's on a taxpayer paid for bender with his no talent girlfriend doing his version of Air Fuck One over the Atlantic, spending hundreds of thousands of dollars. Another fool, another fraud, a prime leader of the pedophilia cover up, a agent in injustice and interfering in elect fascist. And you can look at the video to which the way that Hitler in 1936 co opted the Olympics for politics. And you can look forward to Trump's intentions in Los Angeles, where this will be a epic disgrace. But these players allowed in an instant their achievement to be hijacked by propaganda. Now, there are some of them who have thus since had the good judgment you have any part of this.
Mhm.
And you have even one that apologized as he should to the disrespect they showed to the gold medal winning women's
Women.
team. And the women's hockey rivalry between the Canadians and the Americans is as deep and maybe even better than the men's rivalry. And the disrespect was epic. And so they sit there as useful idiots while Cash Patel is involved in a lawlessness where political opponents are being prosecuted, people are being abducted off of the streets. Federal agents have shot dead 2 Americans at least, and the real number is in the dozens. We watched them do it on film for Renee Good, for Alex Preddy. We have facilities being turned into concentration camps in Georgia, and they got behind it. And being a professional athlete and winning a gold medal does not immunize them from the responsibilities of citizenship. So in this
Mm.
moment, they stood for something. And I'll say this to that young man who has been awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom: he doesn't deserve it.
Connor Hellebuck.
Putting
Yep.
putting it on is a desecration. Your reward for stopping that many goals is your gold medal, not the Presidential Medal of Freedom. What that is a Fuhrer trinket, like the one
Mhm.
that got hung around the neck of Lindbergh and Henry Ford and the Duke of Windsor. All of these people, the fascists, the Hitler admirers.
Mhm.
And so this team has disgraced itself. And Donald Trump is profoundly unpopular. He's at 35%, and the lowest he can go is 26, which means he's got 9 left to give. And then we're at the Marianas Trench. And there are Trump's legion of whack jobs. But the whole country understands, if not the hockey team, that he's bad news. And the last thing I'll say about it is, you can go back and look at Muhammad Ali. You can go back and look at some of our great Olympic champions in times of real political strife that protested. Track athletes raised their fists in defiance of discrimination in their homeland. That Olympic athletes traditionally have comported themselves with some dignity. And we live in this culture where we talk about a crisis in masculinity, right? These were some young men that would have done well to meet some of those World War II generation guys that we grew up knowing, right? Who would not have tolerated that type of bullshit, right? Would have stamped it out of them when they were 12 years old, right? That's part of the collapse we have in the country of masculinity, right? It's not about being tough enough to take the shot and lose a tooth and keep playing, right? You also want to act like Max Scherzer in all the other ways, right? You want to be physically tough. You want to be morally tough. You want to understand what's happening, right? You want to know what's going on around you. And so what I see is a lot of Andrew Tate. What I see is a lot of Nick Fuentes. What I see a lot of is the performative shitheads. Not a lot of Gary Cooper, not a lot of John Wayne. A lot of blowhard bullshittery. Is what I see. And it was embarrassing. Coach should be fucking appalled, embarrassed. He had the honor of leading the American team. Total lack of discipline and comportment. Embarrassing. It's embarrassing. You're an embarrassment. Uh-oh, I lost you. I lost you. I can't hear Dean. Oh, can't hear you. You're muted, Dean. Dean knows it. He's working the problem. He's going to be back soon. He's going to figure it out. We know he is. We know he is. You know he is. We're going to talk about Prince Andrew too. We're going to talk about Fergie. Fergie's a great role model for all these people, for Pam Bondi, for Christy Nome. They're going to live a life like Fergie when all of this ends. No one will know where they are. They'll be in hiding. They won't be at the clinic in Switzerland. Probably stole enough money to pay for it. It's $170,000 a night or something like that. But at any rate, they will all be like a version of Fergie, shamed beyond any ability to live in public, any ability to walk down a street, to walk into a restaurant, into a theater. Never again will any of these people hold power, hold privilege, and it will be fantastic. Uh-oh. All right, we got to see what's happening here. All right, hold on. We have some technical challenges. Okay, we're waiting for Dean. Hope he's back soon. Running out of things to talk about through our technical difficulties. There he is. Can't live in a fancy mansion for free. Ain't that the truth, Fergie? Ain't that the truth?
Are we back?
I previewed a little bit about our Prince Andrew discussion that's just ahead, but
Yes.
you were but the hockey team, we weren't done with the hockey.
No, and I'm sorry, dude. I apologize. Apologize to everybody. And this is my favorite thing to do every time I get a chance to do it with Steve. So my apologies. I'll try and keep it on the straight and narrow here. What happened as a result of that hockey game, and I said, I haven't had a chance to speak to an American who shares that same opinion that there's no daylight between Donald Trump and any accomplishment that he tries to co-opt, right? Which is what he really did. And he needs to co-opt the accomplishments of other people. He needs to co-opt buildings with the name Peace on them. He needs to put his name on the John F. Kennedy Jr. Performance Center. He needs to put his bust on Mount Rushmore. He needs. And why does he need those things? Because he knows he's a complete fucking failure. Every time he says, I've always wanted one of these medals. I'm not allowed to give myself one. I'm not giving this gold medal back, when the boys handed him that gold medal when they came into the Oval Office. But here's the catch, and this is the struggle that I've had for a long time. I, as a young man, was always able to separate politics from sports. I was always able to separate the actions of players from the players playing the game and the accomplishments of those players. That was pretty easy for me. But we have never been in a time like this. Going to meet George Bush when you win a Stanley Cup, who's engaged in war. Tim Thomas didn't go and meet with Obama, if you remember, when the Boston Bruins won the Stanley Cup. He had his personal convictions. You had 5 different players from the U.S. national team that did not show up to the White House. Jake Gunsel and a few others that decided they weren't going to be there. Connor Little got a place for the Winnipeg Jets. So you had some guys stand for it. But the thing that really I'm having a hard time squaring is how those players were so gleeful, including Austin Matthews, who's the captain of the Toronto Maple Leafs, who is taking a beating here in the city of Toronto right now, who represents and makes a very good living in the city of Toronto, in the country of Canada. For him to stride into the Oval Office with a smile on his face, with his gold medal around his neck, and to put his hand in front of a convicted and adjudicated rapist, someone who has more than 31 credible claims of violent sexual predation against him, including one adjudicated rape, which means Donald Trump is a convicted rapist. It means Donald Trump, in the eyes of the law in the United States, has for sure raped one woman and settled over 31 different other claims of sexual assault over a 40-year period. Now let's drag that into the Epstein files as well. He is currently covering up 45 years of sexual predation, of child rape against thousands of girls that stem across the United States and the rest of the free world, that the free world is now catching on to, that is widely written about on a daily basis in every major newspaper, that we're now finding out about from the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, the New Republic, NPR, the Telegraph, that there are 53 pages, okay, 53 pages of detailed witness impact statements from a victim who claims she was raped from the ages of 13 to 15 by Donald Trump. We found that out prior to the big meeting in the Oval Office with the gold medal winning Team USA hockey team. We knew all that. We know all of those things. And I put what that Team USA did in the basket of you cannot claim that you walked into the Oval Office to meet the president, to celebrate your gold medal, and you're okay with those things, or you didn't know about those
Or
things.
we're not political. We're
But
not
we're not
political.
political. Yeah. And
Bullshit.
they complain about it. Like Jack Hughes the other day, he's like, I don't know why everybody's get all this fucking backlash, right? It's a hockey player talk. We get all this backlash, but it's not political. We're just happy we won. We're excited to go to the White House. It's not political. Austin Matthews said that pregame yesterday before Tampa tuned up Toronto 4-2. Great job getting ready for the stretch run, Austin. And he said the same thing. He's like, hey, listen, I know a lot of people are upset, but, just won the gold medal. It's not a political thing or anything. Well, why did you show up to the office of the
He made it.
president of
He
the
made
United
it one.
fucking States?
He
Exactly.
made it one. He made
Exactly.
it one. He made it
Exactly.
one.
And that's the problem that I have. And I listen, there isn't going to be a guy on Twitter who's going to, come into my mentions or my DMs and convince me that it's okay, or a lack of knowledge or a lack of conviction makes co-signing 40 years of pedophilia and covering up the destruction of hundreds of thousands of lives at the hands of some of the most disgusting, perverted elites that are fully being covered right now by Donald Trump
Well,
and Pam Bondi and Kash Patel. There is no way those players didn't know about it, Steve.
well, you have the good judgment of the players who were not there and who had the discernment to appreciate that, oh man, this doesn't look good. Who the fuck let Cash Patel into our locker room to try to steal? And that's the thing to understand. Cash Patel,
Made it political as
Pam
soon as they won.
Bondi,
As soon as they
these
won.
guys are these guys are the world's greatest takers. They're the gold medalists at taking
Mhm.
things that don't belong to them. Donald Trump said in that appalling State of the Union that voting's a privilege. It's not a privilege, it's a right. Driving's a privilege. Voting's a right. Doesn't exist at the whim of Donald Trump. So those athletes allowed for who knows what reason, their celebration to be hijacked. And it's too bad that there was no one around that team who was watching their sixes, watching their backs, who didn't have their head up their ass.
Mhm.
And so nobody had the wisdom to say to Cash Patel is, well, if you want to meet the team, maybe we can do it later, but this is their time. This is their moment.
Yeah.
No one did that. And
Yeah.
so it spiraled. And after thinking about it, they allowed it to become what it's become. And very specifically,
Well,
The,
they
the,
doubled down by showing up.
oh, sure. And then ultimately, this Presidential Medal of Freedom.
Mm.
And should he put it on, it'll be a defining moment for the rest of his life, as it should be, as it should be. These are very privileged men who make a lot of money playing a professional sport. The misconduct that we're talking about here is serious. They just lack character. I hope he gets the shit boot out of him in Toronto at a way that'll sting him for a long time. Deserves it.
Yeah, no, they all do. And just to touch on the women's,
They're no 1980 Miracle team. Tell you that much.
no, they weren't.
Tell you that much.
But I
They
want to
could
touch on
never be compared to those guys.
no, that
You
wasn't very
kidding me?
nice. Yeah,
Jim Craig had fucking character.
yeah, he did. All of those men did. In fact, I believe a couple of the surviving members of that team have spoken out and said it was absolutely wrong for the players to go to the White House. Absolutely wrong for some of those players to pose with Donald Trump and several other members of his administration, literally, that are covering up a decade-long sex trafficking ring and pedophile ring with children and young women that's destroyed thousands of lives, wearing MAGA merch, like Jack
Yeah.
Hughes and Connor Hellebuck, the
Yeah.
guy that's getting the Medal of Freedom for being a goaltender. To your point, your award is the fucking gold medal, and that's it. That's all you get. But it's that politicization that when you see the pictures of it, it's one thing, but the women, that's something totally different because the women's national hockey team is the most decorated hockey team in the history of American Olympics. Did you know that?
Yeah, I
They
knew
have
that.
won, I believe it's 6 Olympic golds to this point, 5 or 6 Olympic golds. They are such a solidly successful hockey team and have been for decades. They are U.S. Olympic hockey excellence. And as soon as Kash Patel brings that phone in the room, it's politicized. And he gets on the phone with Donald Trump. He gets into, I don't know if you noticed, this is locker room talk. It's locker room talk. He's in his locker room. He's in a bro moment, right?
Yeah.
With all these young 20 something dudes. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to have to invite you to the State of the Union, make it happen. And Kash Patel's like, fuck yeah, I'll make it happen, boss. You got it. He calls him boss. I don't know if you noticed that too.
Yeah.
It's all mob.
No presence, no dignity, no comportment, just a
Zero.
clown.
And
Clown.
then Trump says, and I'm paraphrasing, but not really. I guess we're gonna have to invite the women too,
Yep,
huh?
we're gonna have to invite the women. Might have to grab them by the pussy,
I couldn't.
right?
It's like, and then we're
We'll
sitting here
get
having these
Peter
conversations.
Attia on it. We'll get Peter Attia on it. Les
Yeah,
Dillinger Locale or whatever his thing is. Barry White special.
it's bizarre, and it's not about losing a hockey game. Fuck, I'm a Leaf fan. I've lost lots of hockey games, like thousands of hockey games in the most spectacular ways in decades for decades and for probably generations. I'm used to it. It's not a big deal. That was a great hockey game to win. As soon as that was a great hockey game to watch. As soon as it was over, I tweeted out that it was an incredible game. Canada carried the play. At the end of the day, the United States are gold medalists. Thank you for such an incredible opportunity to watch an awesome gold medal hockey. Right? That's when all the death threats started. That's when, and that's when I knew this was not going to be just another normal visit to the White House. That's when I knew it was at stake. And I hope that everybody out there has these women, the women's hockey team in mind when you're criticizing these pricks. And I hope that you never let anybody separate the hand that they shook from the achievement that these young men have back pockets right now, because you can't. Those medals are tainted. That experience, that championship moment, that visit in the White House with a pedophile who's protecting hundreds of other pedophiles,
They fucked it up.
they fucked it up and they knew it. And that's the thing. But here's the catch is they fucked it up on purpose, Steve. There was not a moment of reflection for any of those guys. And I get it. I've been young and stupid too. We all have. But there's a difference. There's a difference in 2026. And that's my point.
They just convey as particularly young and stupid. Like I said, right? The like measurably, like I've never seen a stupider group,
No.
right, in public together. Like who would you put up against them?
Well,
I
for
mean,
IQ, you mean?
it's they convey as the lowest IQ group, team, whatever, right? If you think of all the championship teams, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, like throw me out another championship team to
That's
compare
that
them to
dumb.
in the dumb Olympics, like that competes with these guys.
Well,
Like who could it be?
I have some context, and I don't know who that person would be, but let me give you context that kind of
Like,
leans into
what
what you're
group
saying
could
and
it be? I mean,
validates it. I great question, but let me give you an example. Okay, Matthew Kachuk has a grade 9 education. Of all four major professional athletes in those sports and those disciplines in North America, hockey players are by far the least educated. Okay. Now I'm not saying American hockey players. I'm saying all hockey players. What happens is you're tagged as an incredible talent at the age of 14, and then you go and play semi-professional hockey, junior hockey, and you no longer go to school. That is not your job, and that is what Canada is. Well, it's even worse in the United States. Matthew Kachuk, I put out a tweet saying, no surprise that he's really proud that the president's proud of him because he's got a ninth grade education. He is he's widely regarded in the NHL, by the way, as the dumbest player in the NHL, like the dumbest. And his father, Keith Kachuk, American-born hockey player, was widely regarded as the dumbest player of his generation. So he's got it educationally, and he's got it in his fucking bloodline. He's got the stupid double dose,
yeah,
Steve. Like he's
yeah.
got the stupid double dose, and he's the best player on that team. So not only am I not expecting Matthew Kachuk to help his kids with their homework anytime soon, I, it's not.
Maybe we should do like one of those, what's her name? Sydney Sweeney. We'll do what's in the jeans ads, right? We can do it. It's in the
That's a great
jeans
ad for the
ads,
Save America.
right?
It's
Yeah.
in the jeans ads. The Kachuk family.
Speaking of the royal genes,
Woo,
the
woo, huh, Andy?
the now one thing, I mean, as an American, obviously saddled with Donald Trump as president is a historic humiliation and stain on all things, the national honor everywhere. But Prince Andrew, he was a prince of Canada. He was a prince. Fergie was a duchess of whatever her
Well, we
realm
have
was. Like,
street.
what do
We
you
have
think of these?
streets named after them here. That's a great question.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
school.
Are
Prince
there
Andrew Elementary School. We'll be renaming that real quick.
is there a Prince Andrew
Oh yeah.
elementary school?
Oh yeah.
How many do you think?
Ah, great question. I don't know. I know there's 3 or 4 schools named after Prince Andrew that are undergoing a name change. I know. I don't think there's a Duchess of York school here because they weren't married long enough. We have 21 streets named Prince Andrew Street, Crescent Place, Lane, all across Canada, and they are all being renamed as of today. Canada separated our desire to be a kingly colony a long time ago. I mean that King Charles is just a figurehead. You got with no onus to him. But I'll tell you something. We've got a lot of royal watchers here who are like very sad that Randy Andy turned out to be exactly what Randy Andy was, right? A pedophile. And how's it playing here? No one gives a fuck. Dude, you live in Canada for half your year. You know what we're all about. We wouldn't piss on a royal if they walked by. Like it doesn't it's
What? All right. So I think I think that, as you know, the Save America movement has advised King Charles to not come to America and stand with Donald Trump. It's going to be a terrible experience. Don't do it. But putting that aside with Andrew, with all of it, um, when the new king comes in, right, he's got to get rid of this whole House of York, right? When William comes in,
yeah.
like, look at the two princesses that are fruit of the rotten tree. Just be like, you're not princesses anymore, right? You got to go get jobs, right? You got to go do. You're out. You're done. It's like it's all over, right? There's no more. There's like if you're. And it's for like 1,000 years, right? There's no more Duke of York, right? Isn't that what's the right thing to do here?
Are
I would
you
say
talking
not for
about
a
wiping out
thousand
an
years,
entire
no more
royal
Duke
line?
of York. That would be the kingly decree. He's got to get rid of the cousins too. Like they're bad news.
The cousins, hey, let's get to. I'm born in England, right? So my parents are
Yes.
big royal people. They were really big royal people, and they're disgusted by Andy. But I was having a conversation with my father, who's a great guy, and we were talking a little bit about the royal family. He goes, he was always weird. When I grew up, when I grew up as a young man, my dad's roughly, the same age as the king, and a little bit older than Prince Andrew. There are always stories about him running around, showing young ladies his privates. That's how my dad talks. Calls
This is Andrew.
this is Andrew showing young
Yeah.
ladies his privates. Trying to lure girls into parties and da da da. Like it was,
And he
he
had the
looks,
teddy bears on his bed too.
yeah,
Like
he did.
he had his like
Yeah,
80 teddy bears on his bed, which is
yeah,
again, that's peculiar, like this whole Erica Kirk thing.
yeah. But the thing about it was is my dad's pretty well read dude, and being a royal guy and being from a British household, he started telling me about Prince Andrew's grandfather. Would
Oh no. You went mute again. We lost the sound again, right? The last thing we heard was Prince Andrew's grandfather. Nope. We have to mute it again. Hmm. We're gonna find out what Prince Andrew's grandfather did. I'll tell you what, it's no good. Um, it's no good, I bet. Oh, we're getting them back. Here we go. Here we go.
we are.
This is so the last thing we heard was like Prince Andrew's grandfather, and then you went silent. I was like, what did he fucking do? What happened? What happened?
So Prince Andrew's grandfather, who is Prince Philip's father, if you remember correctly, he was blown up by the IRA, and he was blown up by
Yes.
IRA
Well, he was Uncle Dickie. Well, he was not his father.
uncle,
He was the great uncle,
great
the
uncle.
uncle, but Lord Louis Mountbatten,
Correct.
Supreme Commander in the Pacific,
Yes, and I believe was in
but a
charge of
pedophile.
very, very serious pedophile.
Yeah.
This is not a this is a family of pedophiles. This is a house of pedophiles. This is an entire lineage of pedophiles. So when we get to the point where we start having a conversation about the significance of having a prince lose his title and literally be the first royal family member arrested and charged with a crime since 1647,
Long time.
it's a bit.
Long time. It's a long time.
It's a bit. You can then lean into the conversation happening in the United States, which is why has nobody here been charged? Why, other than Ghislaine Maxwell? I mean, how is it that nobody in the United States of America has been charged? Because this is not just about pedophilia. Like Prince Andrew got charged with espionage, effectively. And then Lord Mandelson, UK ambassador to the United States, who was handpicked by Donald Trump, was then pinched, and now he's been charged with espionage, who carried on a decades long relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. It is inconsequential to Americans for some reason, but to the British people, they're excited. They're pumped. They want to see the royal family go down. And this is a group of people, this is an entire island of people that love to show up to Buckingham Palace for all the ritualistic stuff. They love the Queen, they love the royal family, they love Buckingham Palace. But there is now such severe hatred for the royal family. There's this there's this drive to destroy the royal family, to get rid of the lineage, and it all sits in and around Jeffrey Epstein and this cover up and the fact that the royal family was deeply involved. I don't know. Did you see Les Wexner's deposition the other day
Hmm.
where he was asked, like, who else did Epstein talk about doing business with a lot? And Wexner kind of opined a little bit and he goes, well, he talked about the queen all the time, said he managed all of her finances. And that's when his lawyer leaned in and he goes, if you say another word, I'll fucking kill you. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
I don't think we have seen the best of what is to come from the royal family and what we do yet not know about their involvement with Jeffrey
Mm.
Epstein.
It is, well, I think like Fergie, who I'm like totally fascinated by in this because they're like, where is she? Right? She's at this clinic for like $170,000 a night in Switzerland. And like she's holed up there for a while. It's where she goes between scandals. But this is what life is going to be like for Christy Nome and Pam Bondi and all these people. And they're going to live like Fergie for the rest of their lives. People just revile it completely. Like, here's the deal. Like 10 years from now, no one's even going to remember, right? Like, did the British dudes go down first or was it the American guys? What happened again? They're all fucking going down, right? It's starting over there. It puts pressure over here. We'll have a Democratic Congress. There's going to be investigations. Everything's going to become known. Like when Lindsey Graham walks into the State of the Union with David Ellison, chairman of the Judiciary Committee in the middle of this merger. It's one of the most corrupt things I've ever seen. But every detail of it's going to be known. Every email, every aspect of how that came to be. It's all going to be printed. We're gonna know. It's all going to be seen. And the American people are going to have to decide what they're going to do about it, whether they're going to tolerate this or not. And all signs are that there's going to be a rebuke, the likes of which no one really understands coming down the road in around 200 days. That Donald Trump, despite his rhetoric, his bombast, and all this nonsense, does not live in a country where he gets to decide, I want to be in power. We get to decide who's in power. It's as simple as that. And voting is a right, not a privilege, and he lost an election and he left and he's going to lose this election. He's going to have to deal with the consequences of that. And they're going to be very, very severe.
Oh fuck, I hope so. Do you think the king comes for the 250?
Uh, I'm serious as a heart attack. He should not. He should not. It will be a disaster
Why?
for him. I just think that what we plan to do with the Save America movement will be such a humiliation, right? The total collapse of moral authority for the king. I mean, the first the first British monarch to ever set foot on American soil was his grandfather,
Mhm.
and his grandfather came on a trip orchestrated by FDR to to establish some affection between two people who didn't really care for each other. There was no special relationship. The United States was filled with Catholics and with Catholic Irishmen who had no affection or affinity for the British crown. And so the first stop the king makes is aboard the USS Potomac. The presidential yacht goes up to Potomac and stops at Mount Vernon, and the king goes into the crypt of George Washington and pays his respects. And,
Mhm.
his great grandfather, George III, was the monarch who asked the question, what will Washington do? And was he told he was going to walk away from power? He said he's the be the greatest man of this or any age.
Mhm.
And so the king comes to Hyde Park. President feeds him hot dogs. First time a British sovereign ever picks up food with their fingers, but they establish an affinity with the American people. And within 3 years' time, there's going to be millions of Americans in London. There were a couple thousand at the most in 1938. And the history that we understand as the special relationship is rooted in that visit. And so a British monarch is going to stand as his brother faces criminal prosecution with a person who's mentioned in those files a million times, an adjudicated rapist who is pointing weapons at the American people, who is saying that elections where I don't win are illegitimate elections, who's called the two-thirds of the country that opposes him domestic terrorists and criminals. He's going to stand and give moral support to that and affront the principles of the American Revolution. I will take it as an American citizen who leads a political organization as an aggressive affront and will engage publicly with the British king who chooses to stand with an American tyrant. Maybe we'll burn them both in effigy for the visit. But no, I think it'll be a humiliation for him.
Mm. When you say that he's going to have, he could be in for a tough ride, and I've been along with you for some of these Save America movement tough rides, whether it be for Pete Hoekstra, whether it be for Ken Howery, whether it be for the separatists in Alberta, whether it be for Pam Bondi. I watched a video or a Substack, not Substack, a podcast with you. I think it was a Daily Beast podcast where you're chatting with
Yeah.
a British podcaster, and she kind of giggled at the fact that you were going to make it impossible for King Charles to ignore that what he is doing is he is co-signing the execution of Americans, the rape of Americans, and millions or thousands of young children, probably thousands, tens of thousands of young women, and a fascist who's currently a dictatorial madman in the United States of America. And she kind of giggled, but you had this serious look in your face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought, I think he's serious. Like, I hope that they take you seriously when you say that. I really do.
Yeah, I mean, I've run a couple U.S. presidential campaigns. I founded the most successful super PAC of the Trump era that put a real hurt on him in 2020, and of course, was dismissed by corrupt Democratic consultants as ineffective and a scam. But I mean business. And when it comes to politics and it comes to PR, I think I'm better at it. I think our team, of which you're a part, is better at it. I don't mean to make it about me, but I'm on the team. I think our team is better at it than the Palace team. I think head to head in the PR. I mean, I spent when you run presidential campaigns, when you're involved in this, when you're involved in the crisis management stuff, I enjoy the competitive clash, so to speak, that in the court of public opinion there will be billions and billions if you were to monetize it, a free media, PR, the discussion about what the king is. I mean, will we choose to project on the Freedom Tower, right? The images that will define the trip. I'm serious as a heart attack. If the British sovereign comes to the United States in the 250th anniversary year of our independence, to stand with Donald Trump and affront our liberty as he's threatening the right to vote. By the time he gets done to the trip, I guarantee you there will be a multiple increase in calls for his abdication and to turn over the monarchy to his son, who seems to be a bit more in touch with reality than his father.
Is she, I guess the question is, there is no daylight between any world leader, any hockey player, any business owner, whether you be Tim Cook or Bill Gates, between the actions of Donald Trump. There is no daylight. There is zero tolerance in your mind between the actions of Donald Trump, what he represents, from stealing the innocence of children and women, to stealing from the American people, to executing the people he swore an oath to protect. There is no daylight between anybody that asks for fealty or shows up at his doorstep, those actions, and those people that actually show up in your mind. There is no daylight.
None.
Good.
The I think we have to look at the Gates Foundation, and there's coverage about the Gates Foundation.
Did you
And
read the latest?
Bill Gates has a meeting, and Bill Gates says, this is what happened, and I flew with him here and there, and I'm sorry, and I shouldn't have, and blah blah blah." Um, the Gates Foundation needs to shut down, right? Bill Gates needs to transfer that money to some type of organization that has some moral stature. The Gates Foundation never will. He should write a check to his wife's foundation, or to Mackenzie Scott's foundation. But oh, I gallivanted around the world. I witnessed all of this, but now I'm going to save these children in Africa. Excuse me. Why does what Bill Gates say about anything matter anymore? And so when we look ahead, there's some decisions we're going to have to make. Elon Musk can't have $1 trillion non-state actor destabilizing democracy all around the world. He is the living, breathing embodiment of what Eisenhower warned about with the military-industrial complex, and we're going to have to talk about nationalizing SpaceX,
Mhm.
getting rid of the board, reconstituting the board, privatizing the company, and setting it right.
Mhm.
But space is going to be government business, not the military industrial complexes ticket to ride on the back and the neck of every American citizen who is trying to steal their privileges from and their rights from.
Amen. Yeah.
And so what's to come is an awakening, I think, of a lot of ideas that in the sum all accumulate to taking power back from an out of control executive branch. This is the last thing I want to say about this to give you the last word. Everyone needs to understand this. When Congress, through its members, gives away its power to the Article 2 branch, to Trump, they're taking your power, something that it's their privilege to yield, and surrendering it to somebody who has no right to it. And so there's going to be a Democratic majority in the House. There's going to be a Democratic majority in the Senate, but that's not enough. What the moment requires is that there be investigation, there be oversight, there be accountability against the entire, all of it, the horizon of the crackpots, from Casey Means to the Bitcoin hustlers, to all the pardons, to everything, and to lay it out so the American people can understand and we can go about the business of passing the laws that are necessary to restrain a rapacious predator class of what FDR once called economic royalists.
Mm.
We don't want to live as serfs on our knees to the predator class in the country, to the Epstein class. And so what comes next is real change, real reform. And no, next thing we should talk about next week is talk about it's time to sever the past. And it's time to let go of the Biden era. It's time to let go of that generation of politicians. It's time for new leaders.
Mhm.
And it's time for the new era to begin. And to move past this into something better.
Mm.
And so we can talk about that next time. But
Yeah.
it's always good to be with you. Any last thoughts here?
Just a couple, and it kind of just cosigns what you just said. Is Schadenfreude is my favorite emotion, right?
Yeah,
It really is. It's
beautiful emotion.
I love it. It's
Brings
it's
out
one of
the true German in me.
uh, and we're going into a golden age of Schadenfreude very soon.
Oh,
To your point.
yes.
And history being the teacher that it is, you being the history professor you are, you like to educate people with history. I'm going to take people back to 1945. Okay.
Mm. Eddie
When
Days.
the Allies start rolling across Europe and the Nazis start grabbing their guns and rations and they start running as fast as they can back to Berlin, a movement began called the Moffen Maiden movement or the Moffen Whore movement. Now, what is that, you ask? Well, that was retribution time for every fucking collaborator of every single Nazi occupier across Europe, from countries from Denmark to Belgium to France. And what did they do? Because listen, you might think we're under mob rule now, and we are, by a group of international criminal syndicates that have actually taken over the US government. Correct. We might get mobbed on social media. Correct. We might get mobbed when we're out in public. We might get treated like shit. We might get laughed at, all those other things. But uh, mob rule works both ways. And Moffin Maiden and that movement was an incredible mob rule moment. What happened for about a year and a half after the Nazis got their asses kicked back into Germany, every collaborator got their head shaved. Every collaborator got tattooed. Every collaborator had their children have their head shaved. You know, as bad and as sad as it sounds, every single person who was oppressed then became the oppressor. And every
People were
collaborator
angry.
who, what, oh my God, were they fucking angry? Some of the videos that you watch are just, you know, I'm torn because I'm like, if we could just dial this down a bit and do something like this in 2026 and then again in 2028, wouldn't that be great? But I need to tell everybody that thinks that they're losing, that's on the other end of the MAGA mob. No, 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 you're winning. Everybody knows you're winning. The Epstein files are cradling this man. Everybody is coming home to roost. Every bad thing that he has done, every fucking moron he's tried to put into a position of authority, like Casey Means, watching her go nuts yesterday was one of my all-time favorite. You're winning. America's winning. The founding fathers knew what they were doing when they said that, hey, we're going to make sure that a guy like Donald Trump can't succeed, specifically in a sustained way. This will not work, and everybody's winning. The judiciary is standing up. The tariff decisions, from not just the tariff decision that happened, but everything that I see, everything that's coming towards America and towards democracy, whether it's Canada standing up or the EU growing a spine, telling them to beat it and scrapping their tariff demands that Donald Trump and the scam that he tried to pull on them. Eh, Donald Trump has never been more ineffective. He has never lacked influence more. And I just need everybody that's on the MAGA side of that equation, people that still support him, to go and start watching a series of Moffin Maiden videos on YouTube, because your time in the barrel is coming. Their time is coming. There are going to be so many fucking angry people when this is over. And a lot of us are probably going to look away. Like, it's just how I feel. I'm sure there are people out there that are better than me that don't want any of those things to happen. They'd like it to, you just, okay, let's forget it, move past it. There's no forgetting and moving past executing your own fucking citizens. There's no forgetting and moving past covering up a child sex trafficking ring of 40 years. There's no forgetting the self-dealing and the, I don't know, $19 billion theft that the Trump crime family has committed against the American people. There is no forgetting the defrauding of the American people on a scale of which has never been seen before. And there's no forgetting about the destruction of every one of your alliances. There is no forgetting about those things. This is not business as usual when it's over. It's not, oh, well, we just sent Nixon to California. We're not going to charge him.
We
And
didn't mean it. You don't understand. It wasn't political.
no,
I didn't
no.
know.
How are we
I didn't
supposed to
know.
know? Anyway, Moffin Maiden time is coming, and everybody should be encouraged. And thanks for having me on your show today,
You
Pinocchio.
got
I
it.
appreciate it.
Be back together next week, everybody. Thank you. This is the morning. Steve Schmidt. Subscribe to Dean Blundell and watch Dean Blundell. He's out there every day, and he's the best. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, buddy. Bye.